Good evening, guys. Don't know why I'm talking into my microphone because my new snazzy, sexy microphone has broken. I don't know why. I tried to call Matt with technical support, but he's literally left the building. So if he's watching now, where are you, Matt? Why aren't you looking after our kids? Why did you leave the house? I don't know where they've gone. But I'll wait for him to comment anyway. Guys, let us know if you can see and hear us okay. Hopefully, if you can, just let us know in the comments. I feel like today has just been a hodgepodge of like technical issues, one after another. So please, someone let us know that you can see and hear us okay. I know I've said this before. Oh, hi, Luke, by the way.
Okay.
Welcome, Luke Dugan.
We chat like this literally every week, so it's probably like it kind of feels like it's just another live, you know.
Exactly. I felt like I don't need to be like as polite to you as I am to normal guests. I'm just like, oh, it's Luke. He's here. So Sean says you can see and hear us okay. That's fine. So yeah, it's just been like technical issues today. Bad internet, glitchy, seller central issues, unable to list certain things, and it's just one of those days. And I felt like this yesterday as well. I even said it on someone's post where I just felt with the market, the economy, bad news. And do you know what? I've fallen into a little bit of a trap of going against my own advice here of getting kind of sucked up with everything that's going on in the world at the moment and kind of falling into that rabbit hole a little bit. So that's what I wanted to talk about tonight. Phil says, this is novel hearing you at normal speed. Normally I've got you on about 1.6, so which is chipmunk speed, watching us on replays. Glad you've joined us, Phil. I'm glad you've missed Suits for us. Always good. Welcome to have you here. Hayden's joined us. Oh, Philip's in the house. Hi, Philip. Hope you're well. Inga's here as well. Yeah. Let's have a quick look. Luke, how did you get on with your £1 million challenge?
I don't think. What was it? Was it 1 million? I actually can't. Basically, it sucked because last year was crap. I think it was like in the end it was like 800 grand. So in theory, I went backwards, but I don't really see it as backwards because as in the previous year, I think I did 1 million and whatever it was. Mm-hmm. That was for Q4, wasn't it? That was it. That was the Q4 challenge for 1 million. Mm-hmm. Yes, not the year. So for the year, it was 800,000, let alone getting 1 million in Q4, because I don't think there was anything that was specifically wrong, like in terms of the things I was selling. But I just found that most of the year up to August-ish, I was kind of just like, I kind of just accepted that was a bit of a write-off in terms of like, yeah, I'll still be doing sales, but everything that kind of went wrong for like the high volume and grocery, like there was like 3 or 4 things that went wrong. So kind of I did go, right, I'm going to concentrate on Q4. So that's what I thought. The two problems I had is like the previous year I had 2 prep centers in 2020. This year I only had 1 because it is really difficult to find a prep center, definitely over Q4 prep center that's they can be good at like sporadically, but consistently from September to end of December. And I didn't feel comfortable kind of pursuing another one. And so I did pump as much stock as I could through my prep center, but ultimately I can only do so much. And there was, I had many messages where it was like, Luke, basically, can you stop buying stock because there's literally no space? And I was like, well, there's like, telling you, you buy in advance. So it's like, and not that it was like, I was like pissed off or anything, because there's nothing, that is just how it is. But I kind of was actually happy that I was focusing on Q4 and wasn't worrying about all the crap that happened throughout the rest of the year.
Yeah.
So I kind of accepted that I wasn't too worried about trying to go for the £1 million challenge. I know I was going to do videos in it and I just didn't. Probably bad at me. But, I don't mind telling people if they ask. But I was like, look, I'm going to concentrate on what I know and I'll do the best I can. But I'm not as worried because obviously that original challenge came way earlier when there probably wasn't any massive impact in terms of what was going on or unforeseen things. And so I was happy just to concentrate and do what I could, you know, and I had plenty of money in the bank. Like I had 50, 60, 70 grand at times where like, and that's never happened where I've had a Q4, where I've had that kind of had money sitting around that I want to spend. But at that point I was like, I'm still doing well. I think my Q4 was like, I don't remember what it was now, like 280 grand or something. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head. And that was fine, because really that's still fine. That's still good for like, you know, even October wasn't even that great for me. I think my December was 3 times my November, so most of it came later on. And I accepted that like way early on, and so that's why I was like, I'm happy just to kind of not, but I'm happy to have a solid year rather than aim for anything crazy. And some people might go, well, why don't you just go for it? But to me, it was like, I've been doing it 5 or 6 years. I don't need to, like, I don't feel the urge to have it in, like everything right now. You kind of get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I've had many crap Q4s as well. So I saw it, even though it was higher in terms of everything that I had, I saw it very comparable to one of my sort of crappier years in, I don't know, my second year or third year. And I was like, you know what, but I learned a lot from that as well, that year. And then I came back stronger after. And so in my mind, I was like, I also feel like I'm going to learn a lot of things, which is then going to help me adapt for this year and next and 2023, whatever years next year.
That's
so
that's crazy.
I don't need it now. And some people might say, well, you know, you never know how long Amazon will last. Maybe you do need it now. But I used to think that. But the longer you do it, and you go, oh, I'm 6 years hit. You know, if I just thought longer term back in the day, I could be a lot further ahead. So everything I look at is a lot more longer term, and I don't worry about, you know, even a year like now and then having a kind of okay year is still okay for me.
Yeah,
and mostly as well, it's because I don't sell a lot of product. I don't feel comfortable selling a lot of products.
Yeah,
and so
we're going to talk about that a bit tonight, because obviously the reason I wanted to get you on tonight, obviously, is to talk about 2 main things, which we're going to talk about is the, you know, the grocery issues that people are seeing at the moment. You know, there's me a couple of weeks ago saying, I don't foresee any, you know, big real challenges at the moment, but it depends on what you sell, of course. But, you know, with people having different, you know, what they're going to be doing this year on Amazon and things like that. And I think what's really interesting is I know how much you would have learned out, you know, out of the last Q4, the prep center thing. I'm sure that you're going to change that. You know, Sean said, what's going to be the plan for that? Do you think you're going to get your own staff to do?
I did have my own stuff. That's the thing. Right at the beginning, well, it must have been last year, around this time last year, I was, because of the previous year, like, I'm going to get a staff member, and I did all that. So I learned a lot in terms of that as well. Like I just kind of forget that I even did that, but I did that for about 3 months. But I actually found it super expensive, because you got to buy all the. I had to spend like $2,000 in advance buying all the prep materials, boxes. Obviously, I've got to pay them, and I've got to pay like basically. There's a guy that I knew that had spare warehouse space, and he's like, I can hire someone for you, that because he does it already. So we can just hire someone that will do it. And then obviously there's space in this warehouse that I can use, and I can just have it stuff delivered, you know, all that kind of thing. But again, being remote doing it was like, it felt terrible, because I had no idea really I want to be able to see what's happening. I want to be able to like help and streamline things, but I couldn't really. And I hated that. And another factor was that when the restock limits came in, luckily I stopped that after a couple of months, and it was costing me like an extra 30% more than the prep center I was using, something like that. And I had upfront costs as well, rather than like at the end of the month. And I found that, yeah, because of the restock limits, I couldn't send anything in for like 6 or 7 weeks. And if that was the case with the staff member, I would have to continue to pay them, and they would have done nothing. Well, I could have sacked them, as in it wouldn't be me. It would be like, I just can't do it. But then I've got to find someone else after, and it would have taken 3, 4, you know. And I found that having that variable cost, which is paid at end of month, is actually a good thing, because if you send no stock in, it's, you know, I guess you have to choose which one you prefer and accept the consequences of what can go wrong with it.
Yeah.
But then I realized actually that's why variable's very, and I know that was kind of like a weird thing that happened. So really in theory, you could say that's probably not going to happen like every year, or it's going to happen ever again, or it could happen again, but it might not. Maybe it's 1 in 4.
Yeah. I don't think it'll happen again.
Or 1
Famous
in 6 years. So really that actually, by having a staff member, it might be the best route, but last year was just an anomaly.
Yeah. Do you think you'll do it again? Do you think you'll trial that again then?
The only way I would do it, I think, is if I had someone I knew and I was going in with them and they were then there.
Mm-hmm.
So I know who the person is and they were doing it and that was happening. Yeah. No, it was just weird. Like it just felt completely different to how the prep center that I use works.
Yeah.
And like I wouldn't be able to see like what they prepped. Like in my head, I'd be like all this stock hasn't gone out. Is it prepped? Is it not? And like you speak to them and they say, yeah, it's getting prepped. But I'm like, I can't see, like maybe that's to do with communication. Maybe I needed to like, but it was very, it just felt really weird. So.
Yeah. And I think the thing is as well is you've made a really good point there, Luke, is that being out of the UK as well, Sean obviously asked the question because we know that he utilises staff in the UK. I'm sure that if you were based in the UK, you would definitely have your own warehouse.
Yeah, it'd be easy because I could, even if I went down once a week.
Yeah, you'd be running it. You'd be, and the thing about having your own warehouse as well. And, if anyone is interested in, potentially going, taking their business to the next level and going into a warehouse, watch the Nevermind the Buy Box I did with Johnny Smith, probably just before Christmas. I think that was a really good Nevermind the Buy Box about all the ins and outs of getting a warehouse. But the thing about getting a warehouse is when pulling out of a prep center, which I do think prep center, unless anyone, has a really great example of it, I'm always happy to hear it. But I think having a prep center when you are not based in the UK is probably I think it's definitely the best option. I think it's the only option because you have to put your faith in people who know what they're kind of doing. When you have your own space and your own staff, even though you're not physically going to be doing it yourself, they have your best interest. They don't necessarily have your best interest at heart, as in it's just a job. They don't care really, if your business, well, that's probably a bit unfair. I'm sure they do care. But what I'm saying is it's up to you as the owner of the business to motivate them, to put their procedures in place, to put their KPIs in place and things like that. Whereas directing someone off site, I think that's, I think that would almost be impossible, as you found.
I'm sure it's been done, but like with most things I do, annoyingly, is that I always find the bad things. Like, then I'm like, well, as in I can't find the good things until I found the bad things first. So it takes me longer, basically. It takes me well, potentially it takes me longer to get to where I want to go because I stumble rather than like, I don't know. I'm good at certain things, but some other things I'm like,
I think you're just
I don't let it worry me. That's the main thing. I don't like if I get pretty much anything. If I had a bad Q4 and I made like 0 profit, like I'll be like, oh, okay, that's annoying. And like, as in, a lot of people probably would go like it would destroy them potentially because they'd be like, oh, I know the potential, but I'm like, I'm not okay to say I'm probably a little bit pissed off because I'm like,
you're frustrated.
I'm like, plenty more opportunity. If I believe in myself, then there's plenty of opportunities. If I don't believe in myself, I might as well just go and, I don't know, like jump off a bridge. Well, no, I'm just trying to say, like, everyone should believe in themselves.
No, I know what you're saying.
You should focus on the basics first before you're looking at like running a business or something. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Absolutely. And I think if you are the type of person that everybody does things differently, I actually have to do something to know whether I like doing it or not. And then I'll make a decision afterwards, whether it's and if I like doing it, and then I'll probably look at something to see if there is a better way if I can do it, and then kind of move on from there. So, different strokes for different folks, of course. Philip says restock issues, lockdown on and off, container delays, a weird 2 years. hoping for a normalish 2022. And, you know, I completely agree with that. I think that hopefully it's something that I think that with everything that's kind of gone on, you know, last year, I think it's something that getting back to normal will be very, very normal. I know that sounds really weird, but you know, you almost have to adjust to being back into normal again. And what I mean by that is looking at the sales figures, looking at the charts, looking at everything that's happened over the last 2 years, kind of not looking at expectations. And there's one thing, I was talking to someone about this a little bit earlier today, actually, is that we were talking about, you know, some of the products that really fell flat during Q4 for a lot of people, like advent calendars, seasonal products, you know, that type of thing. And I've got my own reasons why I think certain, you know, products did fall flat and people ended up getting stuck with loads of stock. I do think pandemic, comparing it to previous last year, I think the demand was there, but I think it was definitely kind of, you know, watered down in terms of, you know, the shops were open and everything in that respect. But I think this year probably the same will happen with, you know, a lot of seasonal products. So my biggest advice, and I'm starting to kind of give everyone that advice now, is do not compare when we're looking at seasonal products moving forward to, you know, last year is probably okay in terms of when we're going to Q4, looking at Q4 2021. But as we're coming into Easter time, I certainly wouldn't be comparing sales figures, expectations to those big kind of Easter products that we saw last year, because one, we were still in lockdown. We were still in lockdown for that period of time. And two, we were, you know, yeah, in lockdown essentially. And two, there was a lot more kind of demand, you know, from Amazon than there was the year before. So, you know, I just think don't look at last year in terms of Easter. Maybe go back and look at the year before. I think that would be more realistic. But as sooner, you know, the closer we get to Easter, the more we'll definitely be able to tell from the data for sure. Because I don't want to take the cop out and say, oh, there's a lot more competition and things like that. I actually don't think there is a massive level more of competition than there's kind of ever been. Maybe I'm being a bit naive on that respect, but I think more people know about stuff. I think the competition level remains the same, and I think more people try and cash in on some of the seasonal products for sure. So that's the way I see it. Hi, Paulina. Hayden says debating a small warehouse. Well, you know, in order to grow, it's something that you've got to kind of look at. Phil says we've got staff who prep and post our eBay orders along with Amazon prep. Will I be discussing sales expectations for this quarter? Yeah, you know, it's something that we'll always have a look at, definitely, because, you know, with Easter coming up, it is a really, really big time, you know, for people that sell within the kind of gifting market and things like that. So yeah, absolutely, always open to discussing that. Philip says summer seasonal. You're not going to get to flip RA hot tubs this year. Avoid stay at home stuff, go for holiday stuff. Yeah, dynamic of that changes as well, for sure, because, you know, everyone was buying, you know, everyone was spending their kind of stay at home money last year as opposed to spending their money on holiday. So I think I said that a couple of weeks ago, actually. I think the dynamic of this year is definitely going to change on Amazon. And so, you know, let's talk about what we're going to talk about here tonight anyway as well. And it's part of the reason why I asked Luke on, because I want his perspective on this as somebody who does a lot of investing and concentrates on the, you know, looks at the economy and the markets and things like that. So let me know in the comments, guys. You know, and obviously if you are someone, and the reason I wanted to bring this up is for the, you know, in the Amazon community, we do see a lot of people investing in, you know, the crypto markets and that type of thing. And if you are in that market, you'll probably know at the moment that it's had a really big kind of downturn at the moment in terms.
I wouldn't actually call it big, but myself.
Oh no, do you know what? I wouldn't call it big. I wouldn't. Well, I don't know. It's about 50%, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we had 50% like 6 months ago.
Well, this is it. And you know what? One of the, well, I don't really.
And then it went back up to all-time highs, and back, like that's
Well,
fine.
this is what I want to get your thoughts on. This is definitely what I want to get your thoughts on, and how all of that can potentially impact on anyone else. Because if you go into certain groups, if you look at certain stuff, if you look at certain everything, I mean, it is literally, oh my God, the ceiling, the sky is falling.
That's good. Like, it's good if you have that, because the more people that act like that, well, this is how it works. The more people that act like that, more fearful they are emotionally, and they're going to act, which can lead to downturns. But if you're basically I look at Amazon, remove the emotion. Keeper doesn't take sides, doesn't have emotion. Like I always say, like, the data doesn't lie. Like if you start selling, I used to do it all the time. I'd sell stuff half it's 50% down because I'm like, oh, I don't want it to go another 50% down. But actually, if you broaden your time horizon to like 5 or 6 years or 3 years, whatever the mark. Every market has different speeds, like even Amazon does its own, one, like it has a yearly season, like, January slower, December faster, and sort of cycles through. And like, if you just adapt your time horizons and then basically don't get emotional. If you're getting emotional, then you shouldn't be in it, pretty much.
That's why I don't invest in, I bought my first Ethereum this week. So Ethereum. See, I don't even know what it's called. So
you actually bought when you messaged me.
Yeah, I bought. Yeah.
Actually, I might buy another.
I bought my first. What do you call it? Ethereum.
Ethereum, yeah, Ether or Ethereum.
Or Ether or whatever it is.
ETH, yeah.
So yeah, I made some profit on that, so it was good, but not like life-changing profit or anything.
Yeah, I mean, I expect like the interesting thing is like with like if you look at like different markets, they each have the biggest like gold, for example, has its like it still went down. I can't remember what it was now, like 30%, 40%. I think it went down 40%. Everyone's like, oh, gold's a safe haven. Well, in 2000, like maybe it wasn't 2008. I was trying to look at the ups and downs because people were, my dad would say this. He'll go, oh, you have to invest in gold. I'm like, oh, like so. But have you actually ever looked at how much the gold goes down, like at its from its top? And I think it's about 40%. It can go lower, but I mean, like I'm kind of talking about like a direct, like an obvious down rather than like over a very long time or up. So that still goes down. Obviously, the stock market go down, I don't know, many more percent. Obviously, crypto can go down. Like if Ethereum, for example, or Bitcoin normally goes down 75%. It goes up 4,000% beforehand, and then Ethereum normally goes down to about between 90 and 95% down. So I'll be buying. And it's exactly the same every single. It's been around, every like 5 cycles. It's like and each thing has its own cycle and different time frames. The older the asset, the more liquidity within a market, so there's less volatility, meaning there's more money that has to be burnt through to move the market. And yeah, I forgot exactly what you were saying. I kind of got caught up in my own.
Hayden says, I own TUI, just holding out long term. Before that,
just hold it for like, I don't know, 5 years, but probably even less, probably 3 to 5 years, because that's it's shorter time frames for its cycles, but it would expand with more liquidity, more money that goes in.
What influences, and guys, the reason I am asking this because
the stock market actually influences the crypto.
Yeah, I said, what does influence?
Like, I would love. I mean, I could share my screen to show you, but if you go to like the what's it called, NASDAQ, and you look at recently NASDAQ's been going down, right? It's not going to be perfect. It's not going to fit exactly the same, like the same day and all that kind of thing. But it looks really, very similar. It's had massive upside, and yes, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Obviously, there's loads of other crap out there as well. Has done ups and downs. Obviously, there's more volatility, so there's going to be more ups and downs. But if you look at like the trend, it fits pretty well. Like as soon as I think a couple of days ago. Well, it's been every day, but like the NASDAQ's been going down like what, 4%, 3%, 2%, and Bitcoin literally you can even watch it. The market's open here at 5:30 p.m. and you can go onto the NASDAQ and I just watch it on TradingView, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but you notice as soon as like the NASDAQ opens down or starts to go down, then Bitcoin's normally the one I talk about, but it's kind of related to the whole. If everything follows Bitcoin, pretty much, within reason. And then,
I knew that one.
Well, yeah, that one's like got the most money in it, so it's just seen as like the leader. But there's like thousands and thousands, and normally they follow. Doesn't have to be perfect, but if you look at like a yearly movement, obviously it's the asset's like 11 years old, 12 years old, Bitcoin or something. So you can't go back in history and really like look at the data properly. But it pretty much has a decent correlation. Again, not perfect, but yeah.
I find it very, very odd that something that's supposed to be decentralized, unregulated, as Philip says, there is absolutely that it does trend and follow something that is centralized. And, I find that odd. Whereas you would think if the stock market is going down, the other one's going up, because
I don't know enough about it because I don't care. Like enough, there's different types of like ways you can analyze and make decisions. But like the simple way I put it, if I've got money in stocks, which I do, if I've got money in crypto that I do, if my stocks are going down, my crypto's going down, I'm doubly pissed off because I got two lots of money going down. So I'm going to probably sell both, or I'm going to sell crypto first, and then I'm going to sell as in, like, obviously the institutions are going to be doing different actions, but like I think the emotional side would still be,
this is where I wanted to bring it into the Amazon side. Just pick up on a few comments. John says XRP for me. I don't even know what that means. Sorry, do you, Luke?
XRP?
Yeah, is that a coin or stock?
Yeah, it's Ripple. XRP.
Yeah, something like that. So hopefully it's going good for you, John. Alexander says never been comfort eating and sleeping as much recently. So I know, this is why I wanted to bring it in tonight, because I know that there are a lot of people in the Amazon community that do this kind of stuff. So my question to you is, Alexander says, geopolitics, US financial policy, main influencers. So they influence to a lot of the issues. Philip's not a fan because it's not unregulated.
Although within the next couple of years, most of it's going to be regulated. So it might take 3 to 5 years. It just depends on how, because, like the most politics, it takes ages to actually get something done, like from the point of realizing they need to sort it out. So it takes what it takes, but it will be done. And everything will be a little bit more tight. You get what I mean? That's fine.
So my question to you, as somebody who does both and does well, on both with a good level of success, do you think that the people who have been, having kind of enjoying this bull run on crypto for the last kind of 18 odd months, I know it did dip, sort of 6 months ago, whatever. Do you think that the people with what people are talking about, that there is going to be a long-term kind of, big dip, and it's going to take quite a lot to go back up? Do you think that the people that are doing that now are going to kind of get fed up with it and look to find other income sources through, Amazon's still a very innovative way to make money, especially if you do things a little bit differently. Do you think that more people that have maybe been taking some time out from Amazon and doing the crypto side of stuff, do you think they'll be coming back into Amazon? And if so, do you think that'll affect it? And if not, why not?
Was that like your big question for this evening?
It was.
Yeah. My first thought, as you said that, is that I don't know. And I was like, oh no, Natalie, I'm sure Natalie mentioned this to me earlier. Like, this is my big question. Okay, let me try to think of something. I think the reason that people go, like younger people, I don't know what that classifies as, but like it's just because it's fun. Like, I love doing NFTs. It's just so, it's like playing a game, it feels like. And like back in the day, I wanted to be like a professional gamer. So
and by the way, guys, none of this is financial advice. I just want to make that clear. We're just talking about it.
And then I'm like, well, I'm happy to just like learn for years and years and years. I've been doing that with, that's normal, years and years and years. Don't matter. But it's just enjoyable. Like I just like it all. Amazon, I think, is like, for me, it's like it's fun enough that it isn't working a job. Like that would be 50 times worse. But it's not like I don't wake up every morning and be like, oh, I can't wait to source these 10 products. I used to think that, but it's like anything, like you evolve and you have different aspirations as you get older, and you have higher aspirations or greater, whatever happens, or more desires. And I the way that I would see it anyway is that if I was doing well, I potentially, and I was one of these people that was like, oh, you know what, that's kind of cool it off a bit. I would probably keep some stuff in there and just go, you know what, I'm going to keep some, because they always like to have some money in the game. It's just kind of like people like to, I don't know, if it's to do with like bragging or whatever. Maybe some people just want to be like involved rather than sitting on the sidelines. But I would potentially move money and use that as capital for Amazon. I'm just trying to think what I would do if I was one of them, even though it's a bit of a weird thing to say. But the only reason is because I've been like, I was here, like I was doing the whole crypto thing in 2017, and like I made some money and then I lost, and I remember like all the different, and now I'm like here, I'm like, I'm just going to wait for many. I don't even care if it goes down another 40%.
Because you're not getting out.
I don't even care. Yeah, I'm never getting out. I don't need to get out. And that's it.
Yeah,
and it either disappears forever at some point, and then that's fine. Then I can't do it anymore because it doesn't exist. Like, I can't physically do anything. But I'll find something else, and I'll just evolve that way. And I think people will move money into Amazon when it gets a little bit boring. So usually when it gets the most boring is when there's very little that's happening, very little people are interested. Meaning the price barely moves, nothing's happening literally for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I find a lot of people will probably then divert, or they started, because they're gonna see that as their. I would love to do that full time. I would love to do. A lot of people probably say that, like, I want to do the crypto thing full time. Like, you see it everywhere. But really, it can't be full time if you're an amazing trader, like as in you can short the market but most people won't be able to do it full time for whatever reason, and they have to actually go back to that thing that they know they can do. That's a little bit more grounded, and I feel like people would move, even if it's not a lot, some money into that, and then focus more on the Amazon side to tick them over at least. I'm just trying to think of some answers here because
no, that's exactly what the next question I was coming to is, because a couple of people have picked up on it. Sean says big correction coming, what goes up must come down. I think that's absolutely right in everything in life. There's always, I don't believe the whole sky is falling thing. Even if the sky did fall, say for instance it did, there's been so many times throughout the last 30, 40 years that the sky has fallen. I wasn't old enough to remember, obviously, the big recession in the 80s and, going into kind of negative equities and all these things with houses. So maybe I'm being a bit, insensitive for some of the people that do remember that. But at the end of the day, there's always a cycle. And if you can hold on during those periods, that it is always going to go back up again. I'm a firm believer in that. So, and I believe that with this crypto market as well. I think it is a temporary glitch. I don't think it'll die and go away forever. Yes, if it becomes regulated, it might be, something different.
I think if it just gets regulated, the volatility will probably drop, because at the moment people can get 100x leverage, so they can basically gamble. It's fun gamble. It's like instead of playing poker, you're gambling. You're putting in $500, and you can play with 100 times that. I was going to work it out myself, but I'm terrible at maths, and I know it's a very simple like calculation, but I didn't do it. But you can play the 100 times that, and if it goes up $1,000, you're making 100,000, 10,000, whatever it is. Yeah. No,
yeah, and there is going to be, there's as this goes down, as it finds its bottom, there is definitely going to be people that are going to make a lot of money out of that along the way. The one thing I don't believe in, actually, when we're talking about in terms of the economy, I will come back to the housing thing at the moment, because I do have a view on that, is going back to what you were saying, I think it's so important to emphasize how I believe, and again, some people agree with me, and I'm not poo-pooing crypto. I bought my first Ethereum, said it right. I bought my first Ethereum this week myself. I was going to buy more, but I took some of Luke's advice not to pump pump a load of money into it, because you don't think it's hit the bottom yet anyway.
Well, basically, I haven't got a clue ultimately.
Yeah. This is not financial advice to anyone as well. I was just asking.
No one has a clue unless you've literally got like billions and billions. People that have a ridiculous amount of money, they can obviously move market.
Yeah.
But that's the only people that could know what they could do. Or you can look at is like the statistical trick, like Keeper, like literally looking at Keeper, but more sophisticated. Like, it's literally looking at like the probabilities of, based on like the stock market, based on all markets. That's what technical analysis is. It's like it's 80% chance to do this when this kind of pattern forms. I mean, ultimately, why does that happen? Well, there's lots of things that happen in the world which you don't necessarily know. What's that thing with the bean? Do you know the 80-20? No, I don't know why I said bean. I think it was to do with peas. Is it the 80-20 Pareto's principle?
Oh, well, I know what the 80-20 rule is, yeah.
And it's like similar to those things. And there's there's other things in the world which seem to, but I know that anyway, I'm going off topic, but
yeah.
I could go there forever. But yeah, I think there's like potential for more down, even if it takes time though. Like it's not going to instantly drop 100%, is it? So
yeah. And I think what I'm trying to say is that with all of this stuff, there is a level of shiny object syndrome with it. Hayden's right in that respect. There is some real money that can be made in it. Definitely, there's no doubt about that. But like you said, I think unless you are someone, that can sit there, watch the markets and do this and do that. So I don't want people to forget that the opportunity on Amazon is, if people have gone away and come back and that type of thing, Amazon is a real business. It does, you're selling tangible assets, you're selling physical stock, that type of thing. So please don't forget that with all these different types of things, I think if you are somebody who is in a position that is on your own, as in responsible for your own income, you don't have a job. If you have a job, you might be in a slightly different position. But if you are somebody who is reliant on this, then obviously don't forget that Amazon is a real business. And I think that it will continue to deliver with the innovation and things like that Amazon will continue to deliver throughout the year. I've seen some of the stuff that they're doing in the States, and it's really innovative stuff. So I think it's important to remember that Amazon, I'm not saying crypto is not a real business, but what I am saying is sometimes I think we forget we're always trying to chase the next big thing, the next, Matt Webley put a post today about, getting rich quick and all these different types of things. It doesn't happen. You have to put in real work. You have to put in, real procedures in place, and it takes time to build a real business, essentially. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, the only reason I'm actually doing like the whole cryptocurrency stuff is like it's so fun, and it just feels like waking up and mucking around. Like that's how I want it. I don't want to fit. Basically, life's for enjoying or not feeling like you got to do something to get money to pay the bills. Like you want to get rid of that in my mind, so that you can actually just be happy.
Enjoy your life. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so really like working. I know you got to do stuff but yeah, it's just that's the one thing I just don't like.
I'm going to touch on the housing thing, because I do think, Philip says, I think stock is the safest bet. We have hyperinflation. Absolutely agree. Well, we can sell it. Storage is the only cost. Everything else is kind of in a bubble. Physical products will only go up, in my opinion. I agree, linked in with the levels of hyperinflation that we're seeing at the moment. You're absolutely right. I don't think some of the price tankers on Amazon have figured that out yet. So when you're looking at your pricing guy, please take that into account, that costs of goods are continually rising. You don't need to sell them that cheap on Amazon. People expect to pay a little bit of a premium on Amazon for the Prime delivery. Corrections and things like that. Now, I actually do think the one thing that won't be affected too much, I think there's a lot of people that are expecting a kind of big housing crash. I don't foresee that coming. I think it's something that, you know, even in the 2008 housing crash, it didn't really crash that much, to be perfectly honest. But you know, you might see people selling off a few bargains here, there, and everywhere if they've owned the house for a really long time, but it's all relative at the end of the day. So I don't think we will see a housing market crash, but that's just my own personal, you know, opinion on that. Be always interested to hear other people's thoughts. But in terms of, you know, physical product buying, the decline of the high street, everything else that we're always talking about, the lessons that people learned during the pandemic, the Amazon customer base grew during that period of time. We've still not really seen the statistics for last year on how it's grown, but it would have grown last year as well as the year before, and it's going to continue to grow. So the opportunity is definitely there, you know, for the sale of physical products, if Amazon allow us to continue selling them, that is. So it's something that I think that, you know, just hold the line, guys, keep it going, keep creating your opportunities. The Amazon opportunity, I think, will always be there for the people that want to do it, for sure. John says, I'm old enough to remember hyperinflation and mortgage rates at 15%. It only gets half. If it only gets half as bad this time, so many people lose their home and property prices will crash. I agree. It depends on the interest rates. Sean said, I got a cheap property after the 2008 crash, was loads cheaper. I also took advantage of low interest rates. Low interest rates, absolutely, for sure. Timing is important, 100%. Interest rates could raise massively if hyperinflation happens. Meantime, it will rise slowly, but they are not rising fast enough. I just don't think the interest rates are going to go that high. You know, I think they're talking about 3 interest rates this year. They're talking about signposting people when they're going to happen, but you just can't predict what's going to happen in the future. If you look back with what happened previously, yes, we are going to see interest rates rise. I think everybody's under that illusion, but when it will happen, who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. So I just wanted to talk about that and how that was going to potentially impact stuff. So the other thing I wanted to talk about tonight was those product and food safety issues. Probably should have talked about that first, bearing in mind this is an Amazon kind of broadcast. But guys, who's been getting them? I know, Luke, you've been hit by them this week. Just to make it clear, it's something that we don't really see a lot of we do sell grocery products, but we create our own opportunities in the grocery field, and something that we've done for a really long time, because it is part of Amazon terms of service to be able to do it. And especially when you're mixing products, bundling them together, you have to put clear details about ingredients, allergens, what's in the product. You have to put it in the images, all these different types of things, which is something so we don't really get impacted. We got impacted with one over Christmas, which was just, you know, a standard bundle that didn't have anything unique in it whatsoever. But what we're seeing now with the kind of food and product safety issue ones is related to grocery. And there's a few reasons why it's happening. The first and the main reason is to do with, you know, Natasha's Law, which was the young lady that unfortunately passed away after eating a sandwich and not being clearly labelled with the right ingredients on it. And for those of you that are kind of, you know, experiencing this at the moment, I think people generally ask, they're a bit like, oh God, why does Amazon need this information? I didn't manufacture the product. I didn't create the product. Why are my listings being removed? It's, you know, it's up to this and it's up to that. Well, firstly, the first thing that Amazon make absolutely clear on their terms of service is they expect their third-party sellers to make sure that if they are selling a product, to ensure that it has the right information on there, because their first and real only concern is who the product ends up with, which is the Amazon customer. Now, there will be arguments, I'm sure, between Amazon, if something were to happen to a customer, about who would be liable. It really does depend on, you know, where and what was done during the supply chain. And I'm not going to go into that tonight because there's loads of different variables that could affect that. But overall, Amazon make it absolutely clear in their terms of service is that their customer is their first priority. So they have to be fully aware when the customer is purchasing the product, what is in the product. Is there anything that could potentially harm them? Dietary requirements, all of these different types of things. So what do we do about it? That's the reason why we're getting the product safety the product and food and safety issues. Now, they're generally coming because they don't have this information in the listing. Amazon say in their terms of service that they require, and I'll tell you what they require because I've got it listed here, what they require on either the product or within the detail page, so the listing of the product, is clear images of the product. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the listing, it can be on the product, but obviously you have to show the pictures and the images on the product. It has to show all of the above from all different kind of angles. So it's a bit similar to like when you get ungated, a bit similar when you have to, go through proving your brand or brand registry. You have to take the product from different angles, which, most people don't do because most of the listings aren't listed. But it has to show the following: ingredients list, allergen information, so any potential things that could cause a reaction or an allergy, country of origin, so where that product was produced, whether it contains any type of alcohol. So this is for alcohol, so it has to be like the percentage, the volume of alcohol in it. Quantitative ingredient declaration. So if for anyone that doesn't know what that is, it is percentage of ingredients. So this contains 3% milk, this contains 3% whatever. It has to clearly show what is in that product with percentage. If it requires any special storage conditions, instructions for use, and then finally the nutritional information. So that is what they expect to see on the product, shown in either the imagery or detailed on the listing. Are you still with me, Luke?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the scammers on the spam.
I know the scammers on the YouTube. Yeah, I can see them in their links. Go away. But actually, I might be able to boot them out and get rid of them. Oh no, I'll probably do something. But yeah, so that is the information that they're looking for. And I know that sounds really, really overwhelming. So, the most important thing, and on top of that, they need business information. So where the product has supplied it from, best before date, use by date, net quantity of the product, which is the weight of the product, and also the legal name of the food. So this is what they require on all of the packaging or on the listing. Now,
you can go in though, can't you, into a section of Amazon and update that information?
You can, if Amazon will allow you to do it. So we also have, now for a lot of people, most of that information is found on the product. I was looking around household products today, grocery products and things like that. Most of that information is found on the product. So if Amazon actually allow you to list the product, if Amazon allow you to update the product and put that information in the images, then that should be enough to successfully appeal and get the violation removed. But the big problem that we're facing is if they are older listings, it's unlikely that Amazon will allow any changes because to those older listings, they're locked. So you're unable to edit them through manage inventory. So, when you would update this information, you go into your manage inventory, you click edit, and you can update the information. But if the listing's above a certain age, it's locked generally, and it won't be allowed. So what we're looking at now is how we can potentially get around that. So Luke and I are going to do a bit of testing on this. We'll
actually try. I mean, not that, a listing quality dashboard, that bit.
Yeah, you can apply, you can do it there.
I'm trying to be like fancy and find something new, but I guess you're way ahead of me.
Yeah. So one thing that you can do, so here's the advice. if you are allowed to update the listing, then you can update the information through manage inventory, edit the listing. You can add the images of the ingredients in the picture and the nutritional information. Generally, that will be sufficient. You can also update the description to include any allergen information. And generally, those are the top things that Amazon want, because everything that I've detailed there is generally either shown through the ingredients list, the nutritional information, or on the packaging of the product. So you should be able to do that. So if you are someone that's creating a new listing, the best thing to do is to photograph the product from the front as it should be, you know, as your main image on a white background, but then taking a picture of the back of the product as well, which has all the information. And then what you can do is you can upload the ingredients separately if you wish to do so, but it has to be a good enough image to be able to zoom in on. So I would suggest doing it with 1600 by 1600 pixels, and that will give you the customer the opportunity to zoom in on that information. That's what Amazon wants, so you're able to zoom on it and see it really, really clearly. So that's if you're creating a new listing. If the listing already exists and it's been removed, the best thing to do is to go through and try and appeal with that information. Take pictures of the products from all sides, including showing where the country of origin is. So real world photos, not a screenshot or an Amazon photo. Exactly. So that's a product in hand. So just to let anyone know who doesn't know what a real world picture is. So it's not lifted off of a website. It's not the images that already exist on Amazon. So it's ensuring that it is a picture taken by you to show that you have the product in hand. So yeah, that's what a real world is. So take it from all angles, as you would as though you're going through the ungating process, to ensure that you can show every part of information, and also make sure the product is zoomable. So if you zoom in on it, can you read the information as well? Submit that, and then they might ask for additional information as well. They might ask for any safety certificates if it's to do with any type of ingredients or something like that. That's the best way to go through and appeal it. Some will ask for more information, some will ask for less. I'm a believer nowadays that you should go ahead and appeal it, providing the information is correct and you're not manipulating the information or anything like that whatsoever. But just go ahead and appeal it on that way. Phil said, what about if it's been removed, you can't edit, and you don't want to sell it anymore? Delete the listing and forget about it. Well, I would still potentially try and appeal it if you can, to try and get the listing removed. But Luke makes a really good point about this, actually, is that what will happen is some people may want to go ahead and appeal it. And so you might find that it might drop off of your list before the 180 days.
The only issue is if you can never get that product again to take a photo of it. Like it could be literally out of stock, like a discontinued. It doesn't mean that others don't have some stock left, and they might decide to. Well, either you can't do anything and you're stuck, and I just leave them and they'll drop off. If it's like that, or if you can't get any more for whatever reason, you haven't got any. It's likely that at some point, if it's a good listing. If it was a good listing, that someone else would do it. I might get 30 to 40%. Like over the years, I've had like a couple here and like 3 pop up at a time, every so often. And normally 1 to 2 will get within about a month. So it's not instant. Will get will disappear off of the policy violation page. So I've got 12 at the moment, and that's like the most. Normally 3 is the most I've ever had before. Got to, and now it's gone down. Like yesterday from yesterday to today to 11. So someone, I suspect, I don't know, has basically supplied the documents, and now that listing will be active again.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's a bit like the declaration of conformity. If someone supplies it, sorry, not declaration of conformity. In this case, if someone does supply it, it does generally wipe them off for all of them. But the other thing is as well, it really, really does depend on how old your account is, what you've got listed, whether you've deleted a product. There's lots of different variables. And I think this is something that will probably continue to happen. There's me at the start saying no big problems this year, but Amazon is really kind of hot on these food and product safety ones at the moment. And I think they're trying to purge the catalog of everything that doesn't have the information. It's just like a shoot first and don't even ask questions later. I think they would prefer people just to, not be selling these items. So Phil, what you've said, if it's been removed, you can't edit it, you don't intend on selling the product again, and you don't intend on appealing, then you just have to accept that you've just stuck with the violation for potentially 180 days for 6 months. But I really would encourage people to try and appeal them as much as possible, because I really do think, especially if you're a big grocery seller, that these are going to continue to keep coming. And if appeal in a lot of cases, or potentially some cases, could be accepted with just taking some real world photos of all angles of the product, I think it's definitely worth doing. If it was me, I'd probably just spend half a morning in Tesco, just going around and, photographing some items and not necessarily buying them. But it really depends on how many there are. But like I said, it depends on, why you're getting it. And the other reason as well, what's annoying is how these originate, these things, is generally nothing to do with anything on Amazon, essentially. What tends to happen is there's a complaint about the product. Now, it could be a complaint about the product, could come from like a trading standards, it could come from a customer, it could come from anything. And it could be a product or a brand that is completely unrelated to the ones that have been removed. But there might just be one keyword in the listing of the ones that get removed, and it might not have anything to do with, someone might have suffered an allergic reaction due to eggs, or it might have, related to something like, a percentage of an egg in a product, and that might be the same as your product. So then they send the bots out, because like you said in your video, Luke, people aren't manually checking this. They will just look for a common denominator, and they will just fire out the bots and just get rid of all of them that have it. And then it's up to people. It's like you're guilty until proved innocent. In this, you have to prove that the product is okay to sell. Now, if you're creating your own listings, make sure that obviously you're doing everything that we've said here as well. And I do a post about it just to make sure people have got the correct information. But also, it now becomes a little bit of a due diligence side on the sourcing thing as well. And I don't know if you agree with this, Luke, but I think you almost now, if you are a grocery sourcer, you might have to look to see.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, check the listing in detail a little bit more with pictures and descriptions and stuff like that.
Yeah, because there's a good chance, especially if you're a high volume seller as well, you could end up getting stuck with 50, 100, 200 products of something that might potentially get removed. So as always, shallow and wide to start with, test the listing. But of course, if it has got, if it is missing that vital information, then you do have to accept at some point, then it's possible that listing may get removed due to everything that we've kind of talked about tonight. So it's always worth looking. Let's have a look. Sean says you get 10 violations and Amazon account isn't a threat, or you can get 1 violation and the account is a threat. Happened to me last year. It's my only violation. I've seen some really big drop shippers accounts that have hundreds.
Yeah, I've seen that. Like,
violations. There's no rhyme or reason. 500. Yeah, there's no rhyme or reason to it at all. Who said that? I just want to see that comment. Simon says, does the violation get removed for everyone, or only the people appealed? I think it gets removed for everyone.
Yeah, like, I don't. But I haven't, because I'm going to appeal. I need to recall some of the items to get the photos and all that kind of thing. But one disappeared yesterday or today, and I haven't appealed anything yet.
Yeah. I think it might go back to the kind of theory that we had from, again, not proven, this is just speculation. I think sometimes Amazon sends them out, and then the ones that Amazon end up selling on or something, like, they end up removing, you know, the kind of violations and things like that. Might not be the case, but so did the listing violation, it disappeared, and can you relist that item? Did it go back?
No, I forgot what one it is now. That's the problem. Sometimes I forget. Like, I knew that. I was like, I know that. But in the past, I've remembered and I've gone back and it's there.
Okay.
So I just haven't got around to double checking what the actual product was. But I know that in the past, when I have remembered, I've just checked and it's back and it looks fine again. So people have obviously still had their stranded stock and they've added it to the listing, and it just looks like it's carried on.
Yeah. Oh, good. Good to know. I think there was another question there. I think I've lost it. Oh, we were talking about, I just wanted to go back to Sean's comments about, Sean said, Amazon ASIN got removed. My VA now creates a new listing, adding ingredients as she's aware, with a new barcode. Yeah, Philip Dyke, she knows more than me when it gets to listing. I've and learned some of it from me. Something I've outsourced. I'm not creating a listing long term. Oh, right. I think what you're asking is, if it gets removed, can you relist it under a new barcode? Well, playing devil's advocate, if it's been removed completely off of the Amazon catalog, completely, as in it doesn't exist, it's not under DP /, you can't find it anywhere, and it shows up completely blank, then technically I suppose it doesn't exist. So you could technically relist it under a different barcode. But obviously you will have to bear in mind that if it's removed off of yours, and you relist it, Amazon might see that as and with the new information and the ingredients and everything, Amazon might see that as, you know, adding duplicate ASINs because it's come off of your account. But I suppose that's no different to me then finding the new.
That's what I'm doing. I'm basically like hoping that people are going to create a new version better, and then I can just recall my stock and send it back in under the new ASIN.
Well, if it was me, but then, like I said, if I didn't find it on the Amazon catalog, I would have no issue in creating the new ASIN. I'd have no issue because it's not on there whatsoever if it doesn't exist. And I know every single way that you can, you know, find it, whether it exists on the Amazon catalog or not. I wouldn't have an issue creating it, and then you could technically jump on it from that point of view. So it's always worth, you know, coming back and, you know, maybe doing a separate list and checking at them at a later stage. I'm not sure.
Or what I do sometimes,
change the listing. I'd probably make it like a multi-pack or something.
Yeah. So I have like stuff that I then literally recall and send under the other version, as in like the 2-pack or the 4-pack. Yeah.
Create a new version of it and then let someone else create the single one. That's the best way to do it. Sean said new ASINs are selling already, won't be long until the new sellers jump on them. Yeah, you need to create unique ones, Sean. You need to create new unique ones for sure. But that's it. I mean, it's one of those problems that I'm testing something at the moment with Luke's help to see if there is we think we might have found a back way about getting some of the listings updated, but we won't know until we test it. And if we do, obviously, and if it's successful, we'll share it with everybody, you know, in ways that you can get this information uploaded before it gets to a policy violation. But the biggest thing is, it's like having a fight with your arms, you know, tied behind your back sometimes, selling on Amazon, because they want you to upload the information, but they won't allow you to do it because the listing's locked. So, you know, we always try and find workarounds where we can, and try and make them work as much as possible. And obviously, if we do have success with that, we will definitely share it with everyone. But yeah, due diligence, be looking out for it in the future. Don't be surprised if it happens. And then obviously the best advice I think at the moment is to try and appeal it. if you can, to get those policy listing violations removed. Not because generally one would cause a suspension, but if you're a high volume seller, you sell a lot of grocery, and the rate that they're
It'd be a
coming,
lot of dead stock, is what it would be.
yeah, and also you'd be left with a lot of crap. Yeah, a lot of stock coming back to you that you can't sell. So, you know, prevention is always better than the cure. So just, guys, you know, sort of heed the warning and just start being more aware of this is what Amazon is really looking for. And it's only going to get not worse, because I don't want to create fear. But what I mean by that is as we move into next year, there's also something that relates to the old CE marks on products and what will be required for the new UKCA marks moving forward, which will become mandatory and law as we go into January 2023, after our Brexit last year or the year before. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more policy changes, requirements. What I mean by that, I'll quickly tell you what I mean. If you think about every single product listed on Amazon at the moment, then 98% of those products will have CE marks on them and the images and details relating to that packaging. Well, come 2023, all of that is going to be out of date, and Amazon will want product information changed and updated to reflect the new UKCA mark. So this is what we're going to start seeing more and more over this period of time. So it's really important to be aware of these type of things. And hopefully, I'm hoping with that, because it's just a blanket change, that Amazon will allow changes to be made to listings, or they may just go along with, if the packaging change, which is the original terms of service, you know, if the packaging change, if the product change, if the requirements of the product have changed, then technically a new listing should be created. It might well be that they'll just want new listings created. Don't know. We'll see moving forward, but it'll be interesting to find out as we go along. Philip Dyke says, LOL. Natalie, no. Luke Dugan, Sean, yes. Swerve Amazon. I don't know what that means. Sorry, I don't know what that means. Sean says, I'm testing out minimum order quantity. See how many you can add under 2 kilograms for a broad business account. You only pay 1 fulfillment postage, no matter how many you send, to keep costs low. Why don't we get discounts if customers buy more than 1 in FBA? Oh, you mean a bit like eBay, if you get like a multiple,
like fulfillment charge, I guess. Yeah,
something like that. Because it's Amazon, and they want to, you know, not going to do anything good for us. They definitely want to do it all for this, all for themselves. Philip says, I'm using minimum order quantities as well to get sales. Seems to work. There we go. Keep us updated on that. Well, that's it for tonight, guys. As always, thank you for joining us. Yeah, like I said, I always hate to deliver not a full solution for something, because it's just super annoying, but it's due to the Amazon infrastructure and, you know, what's kind of going on with their listing creation policy at the moment and updating listings. It's all just a bit rubbish, to be honest. I'd love to literally go in to Amazon for a week and say, right, that's wrong, you need to do this, you need to sort that out, but you know, it's never going to happen, unfortunately. So we just have to, like everything, as we all have done the last couple of years, you just have to navigate, you have to adapt, you have to evolve, and just be aware of what Amazon's wanting and, you know, what they're requiring. I know that's what you were saying earlier as well, Luke, so yeah, we shall wait and see. Pallets and Prime from home.
And also the reason why it might be more fulfillment charges and not bulk but batched together is because obviously they've got so many different fulfillment centers. It might not be going from the same one.
Well, do you know what? I feel like I am a bit of a party pooper tonight, and I don't want to end on this note, but I'm going to say it anyway. But the US market has seen a massive increase in FBA fees. Over, huge, absolutely huge. Some have gone up by 25%, and a lot of people saying it's effectively killed small and light. for the US market. I think it's one of those things that it will adapt and prices will naturally rise, because obviously the new pricing has come in and everyone's stayed the same price. Whereas eventually, hopefully, pricing will go up to reflect that. We haven't had any real big prices. We did have a price increase last year, but not to the extent that they've seen in the US. So if that does happen, then that's something potentially else we might have to navigate as well. So, but let's hope that's not the case for sure. Right. I think that's it for tonight, guys. Any questions, keep posting them in the group and we will do our best to answer them. Luke, thank you for joining me tonight.
It's been fun. I know any crypto talks a bit, 50-50 with people, but one day.
Yeah, I mean, it is relevant. A lot of people in the Amazon space do sell in that space as well. So we like to be inclusive of everyone for sure. Guys, have a good week. It's been a pleasure. I'll see you same time next week. Any questions, pop them in the group. But have a great week, guys. See you soon.
See you, everyone. Bye.